everybody. This is Pastor Susan, and welcome to our continuing sermon series called The Great Invitation. As this week we are focusing on what it means to be blessed. And we are doing this through looking at Jesus' great Sermon on the Mount, where he begins with a series of Beatitudes, which are blessings. Blessed are, or happy are in English. But blessing is not a word that we in the scriptures speak of sometimes in the same way. When we think of blessing, we often think of all the good things that go on in life, and you know what the world says is worthwhile, which may not be in alignment with this teaching of Jesus that we find in this Sermon on the Mount from Matthew chapter 5. So today we're looking at the third beatitude, and the third beatitude says this: "Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth." Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Now, the English term meek that we regularly use, is a misrepresentation of what it's not the best translation, to say it that way. It's not the best translation of what is intended by this word in the Greek. We think of meek as being kind of wimpy, right? Meek as being mild-mannered and, just let people walk all over us. And that is not at all what is meant by the word that we see here in Matthew chapter 5, verse 5. In the Greek, it implies a complete lack of self-pride and self-concern. It is servanthood. It is servanthood. It requires huge strength and maturity and sacrificing your own comfort for the sake of others. And when I think about this from a global perspective and what my experiences with people in different cultures has taught me about this particular thing, what it means to be meek, I think about the people of Kenya. When I had an opportunity with a group from Montgomery, Alabama, to travel there several years ago, I think probably about 12, 13 years ago, I was able to for a couple of weeks, live with people who had a very different way of life than mine. And they were very poor and very concerned and about just the very basic necessities of life, like water. In fact, I remember seeing women that would carry jugs on their head of water for miles in order to get to the source of water for themselves and their families. And they would walk every single day carrying water, precious water. And we were actually there. Part of what we were there to do was to dig a well and build a place, a shelter. But the people there really taught me a lot about what it means to not be concerned about self, but rather to be concerned for others. And I remember we had a vacation Bible school where the children were there in the hundreds, just the hundreds of children. We were just like 10 people, and we had to do this vacation Bible school for hundreds of people. And it was an amazing thing where we were not in control, and we had to accept that we didn't have everything, but we could offer what we did have, and it was enough. And the blessing that came from that realization that when people are willing to be meek, whether it be ourselves or those that we served, there is something very special that happens, and there is a blessing that happens, and God shows us and shows up in ways that help us to grow in our understanding and in our capacity to offer servant ministry. I just loved the time that I was there. Actually, every time I have gone to a place where I've gone to serve, I have found and learned something more about serving others through those who I came to serve. And I think that is one of the things about mission trips that is so special, is that we recognize that we've got a lot to learn. And it's that place of, again, humility to recognize that we don't have everything. And we do have everything because Christ is with us. And as long as we're leaning into that knowledge that Christ is with us, promises to be with us, and will work in us and through us, we can lay aside our own need to be recognized and say, for me to live as Christ, and to offer the love and the grace and the acceptance that I have been so richly given. Maybe so in your life too, today, as you consider, what does it mean to be meek? How can we serve in Jesus' name those who may be living in our own houses, in our own homes, as well as those we work with, those we serve with, those we have an opportunity to reach out to, that may have some things to teach us about what it means to serve. Amen and amen.